Good morning, everybody. So I thought I'd go through this because when people usually see this the first time, they
Paul
have a reaction
Childs,
of, I
Chief
can't figure out
Operating
what you're
Officer,
trying to say,
M1
right?
Rank.
So let me walk you through this. It's actually pretty simple. There's a lot of information here that's presented graphically. So what we've done is the south terminus is at the top of the chart, and this is a strip map pulled off of Google, right? And we go all the way down past West Grand Boulevard. So again, the south end is here, the north end is here. Time is done in months going across, basically starting from the end of this month, right? We broke this whole area into zones, right? And we've done that primarily on cross streets. So we've got 15 zones. The first zone starts at Larned. The last zone stops just the other side of West Grand Boulevard, right? And so when we talk about these things, we're going to be talking about the impacts within various zones. It was just easier for us to be able to do it that way instead of trying to explain everything else. The other thing we've done is we've color-coded this whole piece. So when you look at blocks in the red or the yellow, that's either northbound or southbound work that's going on, right? And when we say that, it'll be basically half of Woodward or all of Woodward up and down the entire corridor. We've also shown on here some estimated work, okay, with some of our partners. For example, the horizontal strips are showing some work with our partner, proposed work with our partner from DTE, right? And we'll walk through that specifically. Here's the I-94 bridge. Here's the I-75 bridge. And again, those colors, the red and the yellow, are signifying north and southbound. I think you're all getting a handout that's got the legend on it. In addition to that, you'll see this light blue that's going up on the other side, on the far right side of the graph. That's primarily where we're going to be doing some of what we're calling our vertical work. So we'll actually be mounting our stations. We'll actually be stringing our catenary wire. We'll actually be setting up our systems and doing some of our testing. All right? So again, as we go across 2014, 2015, 2016, you'll see a couple of spots down here where we're doing some very spot work in the green and the dark blue. The green is primarily what we call manhole relocate, so we're adjusting some of that work right up there. And then the blue is some pretty significant work on water lines with Detroit Water and Sewer, right? So this kind of gives you a sense. We're going to focus in primarily at the top here. And if you look at this real quick, you'll be able to see that we're starting basically on the north side of Campus Martius and going up to Adams primarily, right, this year. And that's the work that'll start on the 28th. The following year, we'll be going south of Campus. We'll actually be doing south of the north point of Campus Martius, going back to Larned. And I think this is a little blow up. So here's our blow up, right? And again, the red is northbound roads, and the yellow is southbound. So you can get a sense in terms of what's going on. So here we are. We start off roughly in this August time frame, right? And on the 28th of July, Monday morning, okay, Woodward will primarily be closed down from the north side of Campus Martius up to Adams for approximately 120 days or so, right? We're still going to allow cross traffic, right, to operate. No garages will be blocked. None of those things will happen, right? The sidewalks will still be open. There'll be advertising indicating what businesses are open and whatnot. But there'll be a fair amount of activity going on. You can also see, this is again our partner from DTE. They've got some work that they're going to start up by the bridge, and we'll go through that in detail. These are primarily things that we call rolling lane closures, and we'll explain those to you in detail. This literally is a full closure. This piece turns out to be a full closure. The bridge work will also begin this preparatory work that we have to do in order to replace the I-75 bridge, right? So that's a high-level overview, all right? We're going to go into detail in terms of what we're going to be doing here. As time progresses, we will come back, have more of these open meetings, and talk to you in more detailed schedules, whether we're going down the system or as time goes across. So everybody asks all about these hard dates. We have one hard date. The weekend just before the 28th of July, that Saturday and Sunday is when we will start implementing our closures. We'll be ready to actually lay them out. Probably a week to 10 days in front of that, you'll start to see the signage showing up. We'll lay it down on the sidewalk in strategic locations, not blocking the sidewalk. Pedestrians will still have access. We've got plenty of room between all of the planters and whatnot to lay these things down. Come in on a weekend, start setting up the MOT. Monday morning, right? your world is going to change for a long time, right? And again, you know, we've gone through this. We spent a lot of time and a lot of effort laying all this out, working with the city, working with all the other construction projects that are going around. So it's a coordinated effort here. There is going to be disruption. We apologize for that, but you can't get the long-term benefit unless we go through and do this. This area hasn't really been rebuilt. Woodward hasn't been rebuilt literally in like 80 or 90 years. So it's been a long time coming, right? So with that, I'm going to introduce one of our partners from Stacey Witbeck. Travis is going to come up, and he will walk you through what this is going to look like. It gets a little confusing at times, but again, you've got a handout. And we'll be around afterwards to answer specific questions and explain more detail to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
No problem.
So, like Paul said, my name's Travis Galvin. I'm with Stacey and Witbeck, the general contractor for this project. Just be going through. So, Paul sort of went through the 2014. I'll go into more detail on that. Here's the activities that will happen in 2015. We got tracking, installation, like Paul said, down in Campus Marcia, installation from Adams to Sibley, and then we'll start some of those upper level or high-rise or catenary work above for the system elements that power the train, and then in 16, that's what we'll be mainly concentrating at the end. To get a little more detail into 16, like Paul said, these are broken into zones. The first zone is the hard dates that Paul was talking about. These others are just tentative dates that we have out for these other two. So the first one we'll get into is the Campus Marshes to Adams track work. So here's a overview plan view of the Campus Marshes we got here, and then here's basically the area that will be closed. Starting at campus, going all the way down to Adams. Here's the cross streets that will be open during that time, but as we progress, we'll actually have to close these for a period of time to get the roadway done, the trackway through there, and do utility work in these cross streets. Here's a Google Street Map of what the area looks like, just so you familiarize yourself. Campus Marshes, and then that's the work zone. This is for the detour. So when you approach either end of this closure, these are the signs that will direct you to get around the work zone. This next slide here is basic bus routes, transit routes for each of the different bus systems. You got SMART, TDOT, all the others. When you approach Woodward, this is sort of a graphical representation of what you'll see. The work zone obviously will go from curve to curve. We'll have this looking crowd barrier fence running down the sidewalk to keep pedestrians out of our work zone. There will be an 8 to 6 foot sidewalk that will still maintain open at full time. And then you'll see the barricades when you come up to it. And then obviously when you approach it, you'll have detours that will take you around the area. When we start closing the side streets, this will be the when you come up to them, you'll again have the barricades. Obviously you'll have the full closure. And then these little bridges will actually be where the crosswalks are. So you can get across our rail because there's trips and falls that we don't want you to fall in. Sort of see the rail here going across, and we want it nice and safe for people to easily cross our work zone. The next area I'll be going into is BT duck bank. This is from 75 Elizabeth. Again, these are just tentative dates. This zone is in front of Fox Theater, Campus Marshes area. Like Paul said, this is sort of a rolling closure where the BT duck bank is in the center, and we'll go all the way, and we'll push traffic to each side of the closure. And this is sort of a Google with what the zone will look like. You got the traffic coming here, and then our work zone is in the center. This was just a quick graphical representation of what the trench will look like. This trench is only 5 foot deep. Ours is actually going to be 14 to 18 feet deep. And so it's not going to be that narrow. It's going to be probably 12 to 10 feet wide down the set, pretty much the center of that area. The next zone I'll go into is 75 total bridge displacement. And these are just 10 of the phase. So to reconstruct this bridge, we'll do half at a time. We'll do southbound half first, which is the area we're going to start this year. And then next year, we'll finish the southbound, put traffic back on southbound, and then demolish and do northbound. These are some of the constraints that NDOT did put on us for doing this bridge work. I want to point out the night and weekend. That is actually just for the freeway closure. We'll be working during the day, 7 to 7, to get this thing done. We'll be maintaining 3 lanes of traffic at all times on the freeway because we'll have some lane shifts down below to get work done down below done. When we do the freeway closures, we'll definitely plan around major events that are going on downtown, trying to not affect the general public, trying to get out of downtown when we're doing these closures. And then on Woodward, we'll have 3 lanes of traffic going, 2 lanes of traffic going back and forth, 1 southbound, 1 northbound, with 1 lane returning to the center. These are going to be sort of the types of closures that you'll see: full freeway closure, partial closure, and then the service drive. The full closure. So the full closure is between 375 and 10. We have 4 that we have to schedule for the total reconstruct. The first one is tentative for August. That's where we'll be actually pulling down the bridge, demolishing it. The February date is installing the girders, because we need to set them from below, so we'll have to close the freeway over a weekend to get that done. And then the same thing for the northbound. Here's just a Google map of where the closure will be from. In here, 375 up there. Partial freeway closures. So what these are, like I was saying, we have to do some work underneath the bridge. We'll be closing lanes, but we'll keep 3 open at all times. So we'll have just partial lane closures, getting work done. There's just a Google map with the lanes shown on there. That was for the outside lanes, and then we'll also have some inside lanes that we'll have to close to get the 2 piers done in the center that support the bridge. Where you can see the traffic control starting here, coming pushing people, and then the 3 lanes open on that side. This is just another Google map showing the work going down below to get these piers done. The service drive and up on Woodward, the closures you'll see here. So, like I said, we're going to demolish the south half. This is 75, the bridge right here. So the southbound side will get demoed, and we'll put traffic to the northbound side. And you'll have a barricade here to protect motorists. You'll have 1 lane of traffic there, the turn line there, and then the other traffic lane there. That's the Google overview of it. When we're doing each side of these, we'll have to close this service drive, because this area right here will actually get deep excavation down to the footings and piers that we're putting them on. Same thing, but the northbound bridge, when it comes down, sort of the traffic layout for that. Again, each one of these service drives though do have a detour for them. I know there's a parking garage over here that does have an in and out still, that will be maintained. Rolling closures. So these are just closures that will happen throughout the job, for minor utility work, side work, station work throughout the job. It's just to get minor stuff, less impact to the public, but these will still go on. So we'll probably take 1 or 2 lanes depending on the work size or the work zone that we will meet. Sort of look down Woodward of what that would look like. Like I said, depending on the work zone or where that utility or work has to be done will look like. And turn it back over to Sommer.
So this is, thank you, Travis and Paul. So this is just a slide, which all of this information is in the newsletter and the packet that you have in terms of our contact information and what's what. You all received a packet that basically was not the technical and some schematic things that were on there, but just more of the overview of the closure and the immediate impact that was in it that was a part of this. But we will also have the entire presentation that is going to be on our website as well. If there's other parts of the presentation that you would like to have for your reference, so we will have that on our website. But again, it's going to be very important that we get everybody's contact information so that as we get these information, we will continue to send them out, following on social media and things of that sort. So at this time, if we can open it up to any questions to myself, Paul, and Travis, if there's any questions from the group. One of the things too before we go into Q&A is we are in the process as it relates to just communication. As we've gone through some preliminary conversations with a lot of stakeholders along the corridor, the main thing that was stated was just we need to know dates, times, communication, what's taking place, street closures, and as we have those, then we will give. So this is the attempt and to do that. So some of this, may be like new, trying to get a feel. And one of the things that if you look on your spreadsheet as well, I think it's like this 3rd page in, it has a chart that says zone. So it says zone 3, 4, 5. So along the entire route, the first there's certain zones that are hard defined lines. So it's between this street and this street, that's zone X, zone, those types of things. What we're going to be doing is for this particular group of the individuals within the Central Business District, the most immediate impact is zone 3 through 5. And so what will happen is as we progress through construction, we will have the communication will try to be as specific that in the subject it will say zone 4, zone 5, so that you can look for that communication. So for example, there were stakeholders in Midtown that is further north that said, I don't really, that's great to know, but I don't need to read every single communication. So how can we know that this is pertaining to just our area? So we're going to communicate and identify all of the work as it relates to zones. So you would just know what your zone is, and we'll communicate that with the follow-up of letting you know, hey, you're in this zone, and it would either be, our team will be communicating that so that you all will know going forward. And then one of the things, and I'm looking at Jason specifically because I know he's at the Opera House, but one of the things that the DSO asked in conversation was, well, how do we know what's taking place outside? Is it loud demolition? Is it, just so they understand what's taking place? I know the DSO has some recordings, and they were asking about sound. So that was the other thing in terms of the zones and what is taking place in your front door that we'll be able to communicate with you, so you at least know that although these roads are shut down for Woodward, but this is what is taking place, this is how it's progressing, and this is how we should be moving out of your particular area. So with that, we can open up to any questions.